Good evening to everybody who's waiting. Tonight is part of the Oktoberfest. Why are we doing so many lives in October? Well, it's the best time of year to do lives leading up to Halloween. Regrettably, due to the fact that I'm away for Halloween, very busy time of the year, collecting souls, etc. I am not going to be doing a live over the, the Halloween period. In fact, my last live will quite possibly be one day next week until sometime in early November. So I just want to say good evening to New York Tyrant, Hunter, if you're still here, Jamie's Madhouse, if you're not here, I know you'll be back later. Hello, Cheryl, how you doing? Mr. Blue, how you doing? Um, I was expecting Grandad. I think he's having problems finding his way out of the dungeon because he's out for good behaviour. So that's probably why he's not here. He's done a runner. But still, hey, we can't have it all, can we? However, what I will do is I'll put the invite out to people and then you can let me know. That's a bit better. Not hearing myself come back speaking. I'll put the link out and if anybody does want to jump up subject to the normal security, you're more than welcome to come up and say hello. And I'll also make it nice and easy and I'll pin it as well. Tonight's stream is part of it is in discussion around our wonderful justice system that we have here and everywhere else. You know, why are you always live at the same time? Curious. Well, actually, I'm not. I'm an hour earlier than normal. Causation. Great to see you here, mate. If you want to come on up, please do so. Links pinned. I tend to try and keep things nice and easy, you know, as everybody knows. Although some people seem to think that I've got things to hide, and how the hell that works out, I don't know, but still. Yeah, I just want to have a conversation around our wonderful justice system and pick holes out of it, really. Hello, Mellows, how you doing? Another cue. Societies you own prosper. That is not. Yeah, okay, mate. I like that. We're working on a few things of what PSYOP might mean. And there's one which was around earlier that Anonacue put up. Simply your own programming. We have a bunch of people who've got a wonderful sense of humour. Caucasian, I wasn't aware you were doing a show. If I'd have known you were doing a show, I would have started at the same time. No, I'm only joking. I've got this unwritten rule that I like to keep by, which is that if I know somebody who supports the channel is going live at the same time, I won't go live. However, I also think that it's, if I put the notification up, maybe people should do the same, but that's down to them and their conscience. Nothing to do with me. Yeah, our justice system, I think it's a load of crap, basically, in a nutshell. There was a young lad, Odyssey in Wales. I say young, he's young compared to me, and I'm bloody ancient, you know what I mean? But he was attacked by a police officer at the time. That police officer someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that he's no longer a police officer, or if he is, he won't be for much longer. He was found guilty of assaulting the guy, this young lad, all it's in Wales. And he's up on the 27th of October, back before the magistrates for sentencing because he's been found guilty. So there's a couple of things that could happen to him. Suspended sentence, because you've got to put something in place, probably a month. He could get fined. He won't do any jail time because he's a police officer. And the fine will be in accordance to whatever the backhanders are, allegedly. Hello, what's truth? Here for the fest, yeah. I didn't do it, and I don't answer questions. Sorry. Good day, everyone. That's what they all say. What's truth? Anyway, I don't think he's going to get much more than a slap on the wrist. Now, people say that I'm left wing. Some people say that I'm right wing. But when it comes to dishing out punishment, I'm probably more right wing and more towards the ultra right wing of things than people imagine. Because I believe in the motto, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And I think we should have standardized sentencing for things. And the types of sentencing should be standardized as well. I'll give you an example. Anybody who is proven guilty of a crime should have a set time. So let's say it's something like common assault. Well, to me, you shouldn't have different layers of assault. You should only have one, and that is assault. And if you're guilty of causing guilty of violence towards another person, then you should get, well, I believe in the chain gang. So let's say, for instance, instead of community service and a fine, let's have a fine and you have to spend a minimum over a 5 month period of 100 hours digging up a farmer's field with a spade and an axe and a fork. So it's sort of like hard graft. It's just the way that I see it. Maybe if we had tougher sentences that actually affect people, maybe there wouldn't be as many people committing these things, Hello, Jeff Coe. How are you doing, my friend? All the way over from Washington State. We've got Canadians, we've got Americans. All we need now is an Australian. We might have, you never know, an Irishman. You never know. Our friend might drop in and sing us some songs. But if Eddie does want to drop in, if he does call around, I'll certainly get him up doing some singing. I was hoping actually to get some people up and to discuss this, because I think that it's a topic that we can discuss on YouTube, without breaking any terms of service. What's this? What's truth? I believe in jailing the criminal with a strict work program and top-notch education. Make them do hard work one day for a city or the people they hurt, and educate them next. And you say education's the key. Unfortunately, we have youngsters, for instance, who think that it's, and middle-aged, up to middle-aged people, who seem to think that it's a good idea to go around beating people up, shall we say, gangs, etc. Well, we're too soft, in my opinion. As certainly over here, I can't say for Canada. This is where it's, you get your voice. You can come up and explain because I'm not 100% certain what your rules are. And also in the States, in America, because there it gets even weirder because you've got state law, federal law, and local law, so to speak. But over here in Great Britain, good old Blighty, I personally believe that because it's left up to the judge or the magistrate and they have to double check with what's gone before, etc. I think we should take that out of their hands and just have standardized regimes, sentences, etc. I don't believe that, for instance, if someone's found guilty, that they should have time set aside for the time that they've sat on remand doing sod all, having been put up in a five-star luxury hotel, regardless of how long they're in for. If you're found guilty, your time starts from when, such time as you have been found guilty, on the day that you're sentenced. Even better, because there can be a delay. If somebody steals something, well, or commits fraud, or does something where, even driving offences, I would stick them in a field and tell them that the farmer's plough's broken and they need to start digging it over. There's nothing like hard work to sort somebody out with aggression, you know. I think we're too soft on drunk drivers or drivers over the limit. I think that we should have a limit, and I think it should be like 0.5, just to allow that little bit of error. Hello, Eddie. You're welcome to come up, mate, anytime. The link's at the top. So, yeah, I'm a little bit hard line on this sort of thing. And some people may say that I'm ultra right. I'm just me. It's the way that I see things. If somebody is guilty, they should pay the penalty. And I think that the British court system and sentencing system should be radically overhauled. And I think a good time to do that on would be April 1st. And from April 1st, this isn't going to happen, by the way, but from April 1st, let's say that the government of the day turns around and says, right, we're going to have this new sentencing structure put in place, and it means real time for people to do as a result. But forget this bit that you're innocent till guilty. The police already treat people that they're guilty and they have to prove that they're innocent. So let's go along those lines. Let's take it to the next stage. As the person accused, you need to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're innocent. Now that would be a turn up for the books. Let's get the defence people, the solicitors, the lawyers, the barristers, working for the people they're defending. Because at the moment, it's the other way around, isn't it? You're innocent until proven guilty. Whereas I personally feel that it should be the other way around. Hello, Eddie. How are you doing, mate?
Not too bad, pal. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right, mate. Just talking about the young lad who got assaulted. It's going to be 2021 now, I think. Could have been early last year, but I'm not 100% certain on the dates. But it was the
Well,
auditor once in
what'd you say?
Wales
Your
who.
young fella got attacked?
Sorry,
Did you say
sorry,
your
Eddie.
young fella got attacked?
Hang on a second. The microwaves on is actually causing a problem with my hearing aids.
Yeah.
Can you say that again?
Did you say your son got attacked?
No, no, no. It's an auditor,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? At the time, he was 16, and the copper who assaulted him has been found guilty. His sentencing is on the 27th of October.
Okay.
And I think that he's just going to get a slap on the wrist. I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to walk out of there. He's not going to be getting a decent sentence or anything. And certainly not a warning to the police that, you too can be held accountable,
Yeah.
for your actions. That's how I see it. But I was just saying, I have very strong ideas of what sentencing should be. And I think that people should prove themselves innocent rather than it being that they've got to be proved guilty.
Yeah.
That way, it makes it a lot easier, right? In some ways, because at least then it has stopped the Crown Prosecution Service from turning around and saying things like, oh, we're not going to prosecute because there's less than a 30% chance of us succeeding, or it's not in the public interest. So that way it can't be hidden,
Yeah.
you know. And ultimately, if they elect to, or they have to be tried by a jury, it's got to go to a Crown Court, then to speed things up, let's reduce the number of jurors down to, say, 5 or 7. Make it an odd number, and the majority wins, rather than them all having to agree. You know, but you've got to say around, instead of them turning around saying, well, the onus is on the prosecution to prove them guilty. Let's turn it round and put the onus on the defendant to prove themselves innocent. Just a thought, you
Mhm.
know. And these people who do smaller crimes, for instance, from petty burglary to assault, even drink driving or drug driving, if they're still guilty at the end of it, tell them that they've got to go and dig a farmer's field or something like that, real hard work. Maybe that would be the deterrent to reduce it,
Yeah.
the amount of crime, certainly a petty crime, shall we say. It's just an idea, and I thought, well, this is a good subject. After all, it's the month of hell and damnation to people, so why not live up to my name, and so to speak, and push it on. Um, Jeff, I'm not referring to community service. I'm talking about
I agree with Black
physical
Patch on that
service.
one.
Physical service, make it physical. So it hurts them in such a way that they don't want to do that again. They don't want to spend 20 hours a month in a farmer's field with an axe, a shovel, a spade, and maybe a fork, digging over land that hasn't been dug over for a while. To me, I think that's a good way of doing it. But make it even better, they've got to pay for them to get there themselves instead of being picked up. You know, I'm not referring to labour camps. I'm just it's as a deterrent. We tried everything else, you know, but let's just have one rule, you know. That way, you know, it makes it fair. Yes, Spooky, I noticed that. Yeah, in Scotland, it's they have their own rules and laws, which is fine. Guilty, not guilty, or not proven. You know, I'm not sure how that would work, but yeah, you know, I just think it's a good idea. Oh, I think this is funny. Sorry, I've got to pin this one. Hello, Black Watch. Male, the guilty. I think you mean make the guilty play Fortnite for 5 years. Yeah, kill him with boredom. Hard labour, labour camps, you know. And why not have them phone a friend? Well, the only people they probably know are people who do the same sort of thing, you know. But as I say, it's just an idea. You know, if somebody else has got a different idea or disagrees with me, by all means, come on up and you know, let's have a tune bag. Let's just have a chat about it. What do you think then, Eddie? Do you think I'm right? I'm wrong? You've got a different slant on things?
I have no opinion on it because I don't know anything about it. So
okay, so let's say, for instance, in Ireland, right, on a Friday or Saturday night or any other night, you got a group of drunks coming out of a pub and they have a serious punch up, and innocents get involved accidentally, not their problem, you with me, not their fault, I should say.
Yeah.
And they get hurt, right?
Okay. Which there was issues like that.
Okay, so there's a number of possibilities there, right?
Yeah.
So they go to court, they get a slap on the wrist. They get told to that they've got they get a fine, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Or suspended sentence or the equivalent of, okay? Whereas the idea I've got, it would mean that they would be doing, as it's been put, hard labour. All right, hard. You know, the way I look at it is, if you can't, you know, do the time or whatever the result is as a result, you know, from what you've done,
and don't do the crime.
Don't do it. You know, let's make it stricter. Let's make it so they think, you know, twice before they get into a punch up, or they overload themselves with alcohol, or they get in that car that's that they're driving and they're over the limit. You know, if we had a zero limit, that would be good, doesn't it? From my perspective. You know, someone who's driving without insurance on a car, or the car's got no MOT. There's no one hurt, but they are potentially putting other people at risk by being in that vehicle. So if you're caught, just throw them in the field and tell them to dig it over. You know, I think the field's got to be dug anyway. You know, because there's no point in sending them out doing litter picking, because that's a waste of time. You know.
So what are you talking about? The car or the assault?
Whoever's arrested, because I'm saying let's flip the system. So instead of you being innocent till being proven guilty, you're guilty till you prove yourself innocent.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, defence solicitors, lawyers, and as I say, and barristers, whichever label you want to put on them, they've got an easy time because everything's on the prosecution, which is the reason why half the stuff doesn't get to a court and is shoved, picked up, put under the rug, and let's forget about that. It's not in the public interest, or it's going to cost us too much.
Yeah.
You know, um, I'm just thinking, maybe it's time to go a little bit OTT on the punishment instead of it being the other way around, and have it standardised as well, so that it's not the judge turning around saying, "Well, you've been found guilty, and because of this, that, and the other. Oh, and the psychological reports say this. We've taken that into mitigation. Forget that crap. You did it. You do the time."
Well, first of all, you should take fucking Netflix out of prison, as they're getting fucking spoiled more so than they are like in
Well,
like the homeless hostels. So put them in the homeless hostels, and then that's it. Then they'll know punishment.
take everything away from them. Lock them
Yeah.
up 24 and a half hours a day. No, you can't do that, unfortunately. Lock them up for 23 and a half hours, right? And only let them out half an hour a day to, I don't know, walk outside, as in the landing. You shouldn't see the light of day unless it's through the bars of the windows, etc. Yeah, I don't have much of a soft point for anybody who either causes or potentially causes harm to somebody else,
Yeah.
because there's always somebody who's a victim. Alabama, I've been reading your comments. Yeah, I understand you're editing and you're listening. If you get the opportunity, you're more than welcome to come up. Strange and unusual. This is a very strange and unusual subject, and
Hello,
it's one
strange
that
people.
I've not actually talked about before. But to me, it came. I just had this idea, especially as next week is the sentencing of the copper who assaulted this young lad. Then I thought it was poignant because he'll just get a slap on the wrist. What's that, Black Watch? You said for select few crimes to me not able to rehabilitate, so death penalty. We don't have the death penalty over here anymore.
Could be too easy as regards to the death penalty, but anyway.
I wish we did in some cases. Grim, at this time after last night, I'm not sure who to trust anymore. I don't know what happened last night. I know what happened the other night when somebody came up, and I have actually addressed that. But yeah, from my perspective, you're welcome to come up any time.
Sorry to hear that, Alabama.
You know, um, yeah. Again, we did have. Yeah, no problem, South Alabama. You got my email address, mate. Take care, mate. By all means, continue listening, please. When we had the death penalty, and one of the reasons why it was revoked was we're no longer. What's the word I'm thinking? We made a lot of judgments, I think, in the past that could have been wrong, but have since been proven that someone couldn't have done it, and we pardoned them after the fact because they shouldn't have been found guilty in the first place. But I think we're at a stage now with forensic science that we can prove certain things, beyond the shadow of a doubt, hopefully. But I just think now, as we can do that, let's swap it round. You know, and if you aren't prepared to take the punishment, don't do it. It's like your convictions. If you're fully, if you have a conviction for freedom, are you prepared to ultimately die for it? I suppose is one way of
Well, I
putting
mean,
it.
first of
You
all,
know.
they gotta like start like going from bottom to top, like to like to sort out the legal ramifications, like over there in England, like it's like because I mean, you know yourself, the justice system is an absolute joke. But
Exactly. And this is what I'm getting at. So why not just take it to an extreme?
yeah,
You know, um, but have standard sentencing. That to me, I think would work. You know, um, there's obviously a reason why I suggested April the 1st. But, let's just say hypothetically, in another realm and fantasy and of reality, we did do something like that. It,
well, you couldn't do it now anyway. Put it that way.
well, no, not at the moment. We got the wrong government in. But let's say that there was a law passed, let's say, for argument's sake. You know, would it work? Would it stop? You know? And I honestly believe that maybe we have too many too many lenient sentences.
Well,
At the end of
here's
the
a
day,
question I want to ask you. Like, I mean, if the Tories wasn't there, like, I mean, would it make any difference if it was the same laws?
no, no, it wouldn't because the last person to be hung in this country was found to be innocent. Yes, I agree. They were. You know,
Yeah. So,
um,
as I say, they should like they do it from the ground up. Like sort out the justice system. Like and like competent like judgments, not like idiotic ones like the Tories is doing.
yeah, yeah. Um, South Alabama, I wasn't aware, my friend, regarding that. And, the collateral damage, and this is the point which I've tried to make in the past regarding crimes that have been committed by people and they've been found guilty, they've been sentenced according to the law, they've served their time, therefore they've got to be given a second chance. I disagree with that, full stop. There's certain crimes that should never, ever be forgiven in any way, shape, or form. And certain people should never be let out of prison if they've been found guilty. All right, maybe we shouldn't have the death penalty, but maybe we should use the prisons and sentencing in the correct way. People relive certain things, have certain memories, and they live it every day. They don't. They live with it. Is the expression I'm looking for. They never come to terms with it, but they live with it on a daily basis, and that is my issue with regards to certain types of crimes that are committed by people, whether that be murder or whether that be something else. But I just personally, this is just my own personal belief. And I think that we need. Maybe it is time to look at the justice system and call it out for what it is.
Yeah.
You know, but
And the entire world can see that. I mean, especially after the Johnny Depp case.
yeah, yeah. But again, if we switch it round, I mean, and we'd look at if somebody if you have to prove yourself innocent. So, for argument's sake, right? I went out tonight. I've had a couple of cans, right? I'm not drunk in any way, but I don't consider myself safe behind a wheel because I've been drinking alcohol, right? Yeah. But if I went out and I drove my car, regardless of whether I hit someone or I didn't hit someone, I caused injury or didn't cause injury, right? There's always that potential, right? And sooner or later it catches up with you, right? So, what's likely to happen to me if I'm caught over the limit? Chances are I would get a 6 month ban or maybe a 12-month ban. And the only thing that's going to affect me is if I want to drive again, it's going to cost me more in insurance. But after so many years, it falls off. You know, so you're back to paying normal rates eventually. You know, whereas as if you had a sentencing, I'm just using this as an example, as an extreme situation, obviously, that you have to go out and turn over a farmer's field with a spade. Imagine how much of a job that would be for someone to do. You with me?
Yes.
And I think that the old-fashioned chain gangs may have been the right things to do. You know, over in America. You know, as long as you haven't got too many sadistic guards. But there again, yeah. I mean, I just think it's bad. I mean, yeah, spooky. It sounds like a joke, but not in the UK. You can kill someone blatantly and get out in 10 years. It's ridiculous. Yes, because if you get behind the wheel of a vehicle and you kill someone, the most you're going to do is about 10 years. That's it. And after that, you come out of jail, you've done your time, and according to the law, you served. You know, no one can say anything, no one can do anything, etc. Whereas if you turn around and you go, okay, you got into that vehicle, you made that decision, therefore it's murder. Not involuntary manslaughter, which I believe they have over in America. It's not manslaughter. It's not death caused by dangerous or drunken driving. It is death, full stop. It's the same as premeditated because you've made that decision to get in that vehicle. You know? So if you don't get in the vehicle, it wouldn't have happened. And to me, I see that as black and white. There's no grey area whatsoever. You know, it's a simple choice. You know, and there'll be lots and lots of people who would disagree with me. And they would turn around to me and say that, oh, you can't do that because all it's going to do is to fill up the prisons. You know, so yeah, Mr. Blue. Some sentences can be politically motivated as well. I'm not referring to the politics side of things. I'm talking about having static or set in stone sentences for certain types of crimes. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Over here, if you accidentally kill someone, you get manslaughter for 5 years.
If you accidentally, well, how could you accidentally kill someone? I suppose.
Well, let's say if your periphery was being blocked by a certain lorry, like, and like and so and a certain person kills an elderly woman, like then like they would be like locked up for 5 years.
Okay, so let's say that it's you are a driver, but you are not responsible for the upkeep of that vehicle. Okay, and you get into the vehicle and something happens and someone gets killed, right?
Mm.
You have, you're not responsible for what happens, yeah?
Mm.
Okay? But somebody is responsible, yeah?
Yeah.
Whoever that person is responsible, they're the ones that should be charged, in this case, with involuntary manslaughter. But if found guilty, and bear in mind that under this theoretical idea of mine, you're guilty, you have to prove yourself innocent, if that makes sense. How do
Yeah.
you prove yourself innocent? You are guilty because you are ultimately responsible for the vehicles. Therefore, it is down to you to make sure that everything is working in accordance. That's all I'm sort of pointing
Yeah.
out. South Alabama has put something out. You're cleaning a gun, unloading it, and it goes off. As a result of doing that, the bullet hits someone in another room and dies. Okay, is that murder or accident? And then is put in neglect and manslaughter. You were in charge of that gun before you were cleaning it, so
Yeah. Of
if you
course.
had the
He's
if you had
describing the what you call it, the actor, uh what's his name, um Alec Baldwin.
yes, yeah. Well, I'll come. That's we could use that as an example, but I'd rather use this one as an example. Okay,
I was describing a friend of mine
yeah. I'll come back to that one because it is something which is sort of highlights a certain situation, right? So with South Alabama's idea, right, and what he's talking about, if you know that you are cleaning that gun, right, and you think that there is something, there's a bullet in the chamber, for argument's sake, or in the chambers, etc., right, you should be pointing that gun downwards for starters, while you take out the bullets, right, and strip it down. Okay. It's not the gun that kills people, it's the people in charge of the gun. In most cases, it's the ones which are pulling the trigger.
Exactly.
So, from that point of view, I would say it is down to the individual to make sure that it's cleaned in such a way that if there was a bullet in the chamber and it did go off by accident, because anyone can claim accident, then obviously that would be down to you to prove that in a court of law. That was the situation and that's how it was there. With the case with Alec Baldwin, where the person who was in charge of looking after the guns and the wrong gun got into the wrong place. It didn't fire blanks. It fired a live piece of ammunition and killed someone. You've then got the person who pulled the trigger. Yeah. So they are to blame in some ways because again they've got the responsibility to double check.
Yeah.
And they should know the difference between a live round and a dummy round. So they should have double checked that themselves.
Especially a veteran actor like Alec Baldwin. Right?
Yeah. And then you got the people who store the gun, who are responsible for the gun, etc. Right? They're also liable. Right? And you've always got the people who ultimately are responsible for everybody's health and safety, shall we say, and that would be whoever is the owner. Hello, authority check. How you doing? But as South Alabama says, you should always check the chamber. If in doubt, unload very, very carefully.
Yeah.
You know, uh, and then you got people, like go. I don't Ghost Eagle. Hiya, thanks for dropping in. He doesn't use guns. It lets others know. It's down to individual choice. You have a gun, you take on that responsibility
Yeah.
for it. At the end of the day, you are responsible. The license holder is ultimately responsible. Certainly here in the UK. And if you have to use it, like I said a couple of weeks ago, where the farmer used it to scare people and somebody got injured, it wasn't deliberate, right? At the end of the day, he gave them fair warning. He shot. He was using a shotgun which fired out small round shots, and a couple of them hit somebody. That was an accident, and he has a right to defend his property.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
he's a little bit silly.
I mean, what happened prior to that, like it was absolute unbelievable. Like I mean, like you're talking plinking was going on, which is basically like basically using a gun for target practice. Then you had like unlocked lockers and like there was three guns set on his cart. Like it was just crazy.
What's true? So I'm on the south side. There's drive-bys all day long. Again, it's not the gun; it's the people who operate the gun.
Yeah.
They're the ones that make those decisions. They're the ones who, um, you know, for whatever reason, decide to use them. And I do understand the right to defend, and I have no issues with that. But if somebody knows you've got a gun, why the hell don't they just say, "All right, mate, I'm off"? You know what I mean? But if you take the chance, you take the chance. You know. Um, I'm not just talking about guns, though. I'm talking about every type of crime. You know, instead of let's have a stricter outcome. That's what I'm suggesting. Maybe that would be more of a deterrent, certainly uh, the simpler stuff, shall we say, that people do. You know, I'm fed up of, personally speaking, of reading about somebody who gets 6 months, 18 months, or whatever driving ban. They walk out of court. Within a couple of weeks, they're out driving again. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? They get locked up for about 3 months. Or they get a bigger fine.
Dr. Pepper.
There's no deterrent, and I think that's what the issue is for me. I think there should be more of a deterrence against. For you got to weigh it up. As I say, if you're prepared to do the crime, you've got to be prepared to do the time. And if that time is harsher than people would like it to be, it's a good deterrent. By the way, if anybody wants to come up and join in this conversation, then that's fine. I'd love to hear from you. I know you've got quite a few of you got some views on this. Hello, enlightened audits. How you doing, mate? And the same thing would go for a copper who attacks somebody, oversteps the boundary of the law. They're supposed to enforce the law. They're supposed to be there to protect everybody. We know that they don't. So this is what I'm trying to say. Let's try and get it so that it's a little bit more stable, shall we say? You know, let's stop people from being frightened of going out and outside. Uh, Cheryl. I don't think I did, Cheryl. Did you see what happened to me? I don't think I did. Um, Evening, Carl. How you doing? Um, Anybody in the chat who wants to put different links in, by all means do so. Head over, show your love for them, hit the notification bell, etc. You know the drill. You know, there's no harm in advertising people. Conspiracy music, great to see you. Um, I hope that you have a good evening. We've got Eddie up here. As you're becoming a regular now, Eddie, um,
Yeah,
which is good, by the way.
amazing
I
how
am
that
not.
turned out, isn't it?
I am not complaining. Nobody, in fact, nobody else is either. You see, when you get take up the guitar and start singing, it gives me a break, and it gives everybody else a break from listening to me.
Yeah.
Hiya, Kathy. Long time no see. How are you doing? It's all right. It's not. It's not. That wasn't a cue for a song, by the way.
What?
Um, the other night, I did say that I was going to do stick to around about 2 hours. I'm not sure how long I'm going to carry this on for. I'll explain. Um, this month, for the first time in over 8 months, sorry, 8 years, I should say, well over 8 years. I'm now talking to people in work, as in dealing with customers, and I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning on a regular basis. And the guys over in the States and people like Mellows, who never sleeps anyway, we and I end up either going into their streams or I'm talking to somebody online from any time from 3 o'clock, and I wasn't expecting to wake up so early this morning, but unfortunately I did. So I'm a little bit shattered. So I'm just going to see how it goes, and if I turn around and say, "That's it, guys, I've got to go," that's the reason why. It's nothing personal. Please don't take it that way. Tony Lee, great to see you. Um, what's this? Hi, everybody. Sorry, was preoccupied but fully engaged now for a little while. Oh, I know that tune, mate.
Hey, Tony.
We're having quite a few lives this month, more than normal. I usually only do one a week. For those who don't know, let me explain something. I love October. Most people like December.
Yeah.
I don't. I hate it. Hello, Cheryl. How are you
Hi,
doing?
I'm
Hello,
doing
Cheryl.
well. Hello, how are you guys doing?
I'm
Am I
doing
Oh,
good.
too am I too
I'm
loud?
awake. I'm awake at the moment.
I'm not too loud, am I?
No,
No?
no, no, no. I'm deaf anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, well then I'm perfect for you because I'm a very loud talker. Okay, so I'll tell you what happened to me. It was October 4th, 2019. My 11-year-old child and I were coming out of Walmart, and I was had just exited the building, and they had the pumpkins just set up right outside the doors. And there was a gentleman that walked up to me, and a young kid actually, like I'd say probably 30, walks up to me and says, "Excuse me, ma'am," and he was very nice and polite. "Would you happen to have an extra cigarette?" And I said, "I actually do," because I still smoked at the time. So I pulled a cigarette out and handed it to him. And I said, "Do you need a light?" And he says, "No, but I'd like you to meet my friend Phoenix." And I looked down, and he's got a knife already snapped out. It's unlocked. It's open. And I yelled at
Jeez.
my daughter as soon as I saw the knife, and he goes, "I'd like you to meet Phoenix." And I said, "That is a knife." And he goes, "It's not a knife, it's Phoenix. My name is Michael, and my best friend is Gabriel, and this is Phoenix." I screamed at my daughter to run. So she was only 11. So she ran, and all I could do, because I didn't have a gun at the time. Well, I had one, but I didn't carry it. But all I could do in my mind was I heard a voice in my head saying, "Distance, create distance, distance," and I just swung the cart around, and he kept coming at me, and I just kept swinging the cart and talking really loud, "Get away with me with that knife, get away with me that knife." So now other people in the parking lot are seeing what's going on. And I didn't pull a cell phone or anything because I don't have one. That has service anyways. So I yelled at him. I said, "The cops are on their way," and it startled him, and he started running. Well, a gentleman in the parking lot had heard the commotion, jumped back into his car when he saw the guy running, and followed him at a slow, so he didn't look obvious. Followed him and was calling the police at the same time, saying that I'm following the guy that pulled the knife on the woman at Walmart, and they ended up catching him. But he was supposed to get a year in jail, and about 5 months later, I'm sitting in my room, and my police scanner says my name, and I'm like, okay, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm sitting here minding my own business, and my name's going across the police scanner. So I call them up, and they said it's for a restraining order, and I'm like, who do I have a restraining order against? The only person that's ever, tried to come at me, in a physical way like that was the guy that pulled the knife. I said, but he's in jail for a year. Oh, no, he's been out for like 4 months. I was like, what? So what? He got a slap on the wrist and did a month in jail, and that was it? When he was sentenced to a year? I don't get that. So I said, well, obviously living in this town is not safe anymore, because the same Walmart, somebody was stabbed in the neck. It's time for me to go protect myself. And so I went and got got approved for my concealed weapons permit, and I don't leave home without it now. You can't anymore. I can't here anymore.
Well, this is why I was talking about collateral damage and people who live with these things that happen to them. And none of this is taken into consideration. I mean, I'm I don't know, people would say that I was right wing in my thoughts around the justice system. And I'm not just talking about in the UK, I'm talking in general terms. There's people who are put away for no reason whatsoever, and they're crying out for space in prisons because they're overcrowded. Well, why not just look at the justice system and have strong enough deterrents as outcomes, rather than, oh, you might only just get this, there's a good chance we'll be able to negotiate that. You with me? And turn it round. And this is why I'm saying, suggesting even that maybe we should have a system where you have to prove yourself innocent, rather than putting it on the prosecution for them to prove you guilty. And that's, and for argument's sake, in the situation that, you found yourself in through no fault of your own, right? And obviously the trauma of what's happened could affect your daughter at any time. You with me? That is never taken into account. You are able to give a witness statement, so to speak, of how it's left you, but that's only at that moment in time. You don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years, 20 years time, etc. So this is why I'm saying, let's make the punishment worse than the crime, if you like, but we stick to it. It's rigid. It's written in stone. So if there is somebody like that, to me, that is a serious crime, right? So therefore, a mandatory period should be given, but make it hard enough. Send them out into, as I said, I'm using the field as an example. Turn it over by hand on a regular basis.
Make them not want to come back, because this is what you're going to have to go do.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it, well, if you do this, this is the outcome. This is what's going to happen. No
Mhm.
soft, nothing in between.
Mhm.
That is the outcome. Um, and it's just, people turn around and say, well, it's very hard nosed, very hard line. Would you do something that would, put you inside? And the answer is no, because even if I did it under the present situation, the chances are after a few years I'd be let out. I might
Mhm.
have to be on license for the rest of my life, but that's the only deterrent, you
Right.
know.
Mhm.
But there isn't any deterrent, in my opinion, unfortunately. And this is where the problem is, and I'm not blaming the judges, apart from some of them are very senile,
Mhm.
but that's a personal opinion. Um, I would say that because they have to go and consult somebody else and check to make sure that they're doing what's fair, take the fairness out of the equation, because as far as I'm concerned, the fair left town years ago.
Right.
And you pull a gun on someone, you pull a knife on someone, that to me is the equivalent of attempted murder. You know?
It was terrifying, and I just never
Exactly.
want to be in that situation again. And I'm not saying that I would just automatically shoot somebody. That is not how I think. I would just hold him there until authorities got there and make sure that he pays for his crime.
Mm,
Now, then again, the man who hurt my oldest child and 5 other little girls that I put in the chat was a serial rapist for 23 years and only was sentenced to 17 and a half years and is only serving 11 years for child raping for 23 years. Now, if he comes after me for putting him in prison, I will have no choice but to protect myself. No choice, because he plans on killing me.
yeah, yeah. No, I
Now,
understand that.
it's
You
really
know?
it's sick. It's sick. And then to me, the prosecutors really let these young little girls down because they were terrified to testify against this man. They didn't
Yep.
want to see him because they were in fear for their life. A couple of them had guns held to their head,
Hmm.
and to try and keep their silence. So the prosecutor offered these young girls, okay, well, we won't make you go in front of him and see him, but all we can do then is sign a plea bargain for 17 and a half years. So these little
Yep.
girls and their families were led to believe that this pig was going to serve 17 and a half years in prison and is only serving 11. He'll be out in 9 years.
Yes.
And they're protected in prison now. He's not getting
Yep.
beat. He's not getting raped. They're protected because
They're
the, the,
putting.
the,
They're
the authorities
basically
know
putting.
their lives are in danger, so they protect
Yeah.
these kids.
Yeah, they
I
put
think
them in. They put them in protection for as the way they put the way it's described is they put into segregation for their own protection. Well, they didn't think of other people's protection when they were doing their crime.
yes, he
But
raped 5 little
you know,
girls. You sick
yes,
pig.
and then well, I don't want to go too much into any great detail because it can upset people, but they that person's doing potentially 11 years, 11 and a half years, or whatever, time off for good behaviour, shall we say, right?
Uh-huh.
His victims are going to be living with it for the rest of their lives.
Oh,
And
yeah.
eventually, and
Mhm.
eventually, they may come to terms with it and they're able to live with it. And there's a difference. And I can see a lot of treatment for in this case for the girls, for the mother, etc., and everybody else. People surrounding them, like family, immediate family, etc. They're the collateral damage. You know,
Right.
the neighbours, etc. Anybody who even witnessed it,
Hmm.
to me, they're collateral damage. They're the people who are forgotten. And the only time that people think about the victims is the prosecutors before, up to, and maybe a week after the case.
Yeah, and then they just drop these kids off the fucking ledge.
Then they drop them, and there's nothing else. Just won't be a second, Cheryl. There's loads of people come into the chat. I'm really sorry. I got stuck onto a conversation, and when a good conversation's going, I don't want to stop it. So hello to everyone. Steph, Dennison, I can see you're in here. Trying to see. I'll have to go back now in the chat slightly. There's a few others that came in, and Queen Ninja. How are you all doing? My apologies, as I say. Normally I'm a lot quicker, but the reason why is we were having a good conversation. So
I agree with what Steph said, though. That rape is protected in prison. He might be unprotected, but yeah, 10 years. I'm hoping and praying, Steph. I'm hoping and praying because our lives really depend on this. We'll have to change our names, our identities, our social security numbers, everything.
yes,
Everything.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that the system, you're right, it did cover some counseling and stuff like that, but then it comes to a certain point where they just left in the dangle. And if it wouldn't have been, honestly, for the military and my son-in-law being in the military and his medical covering my oldest child, the grown daughter, she wouldn't have gotten the treatment that she needed. She would still be anorexic or probably dead by now because she was so thin she couldn't eat, was getting no nutrients. She was agoraphobic, severe panic attacks. Panic attacks were probably at least 20 a day. But they put her through this treatment where it's electromagnetic stimulation to the brain. And oh my God, it has helped so much. I mean, she's still damaged, but you know what I mean? It has helped her to be able to get out of the house. And thank you, Steph. I appreciate that. It's been rough.
I have a lot of empathy, and in certain cases, because there is a different sympathy, with people who have suffered at the hands of these so-called people who have the right to be protected. And I think that the law in the UK is a total ass. Always have done, always will do. This is why I feel that we should have far tougher sentences, and I don't think that judges should be allowed to alter them for whatever reason, taking into account mitigating circumstances. You pleaded guilty early on, so therefore we're going to take that into consideration, etc. The bottom line is we need tougher sentences. We do need real deterrents, and we don't have them.
No, and Washington, America has gotten so lax on their judicial system, as far as punishment, that they're just giving a slap on the wrist anymore. They don't even go after shoplifters. They can walk out with a whole cart full of groceries, and they do not approach them. They let them walk out.
Yep, which is understandable.
The consumer and makes our prices go up higher. The ones that are paying for it. So it's terrible. But anyways, I'm gonna drop, and I'm gonna let somebody else come up. I just need to explain what
Cheryl, it's very rare that I do actually get to speak to you, so I really do appreciate you coming up and talking to us and sharing your experience. And from the bottom of my heart, I really hope that everything goes well for you and your family. I really do, and I hope that if they need treatment for anything, that they get the support that they truly deserve.
I appreciate
because that's we've got a different healthcare system than you have over there, and I just think that that's wrong, but that's another story. I think you should have a free national health service, and you shouldn't get rid of this insurance malarkey that you have to take out, because that's putting money on the value of healthcare. And I just think that's wrong. So you'll see some of the stuff I say could be seen as being ultra right wing, and on the other hand, you might hear you say something, oh, that's really soft, that's ultra left wing.
Hey, I'm open-minded. I can hear and read through the lines, with both, So I'm open to all,
Yeah. Well, Eddie's been sat listening, but he said, "Take care, much love, prayers to you."
All right, love you guys. Take
all
care.
right.
I'll be back in chat. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Hello, Krusty. How you doing? And I think, Eddie, after such a chat, I do want to try and lighten things up in the second hour. We've been going for well over an hour. And I hadn't even realised. So my apologies, guys. Thank you for listening and taking part. Some people, I've been having their own conversation. I don't have a problem with that. And I do appreciate some of the humour which you've been talking about. This one isn't quite so humorous as normal. And I'm sure we'll continue during the next hour, providing I still stay awake. But for the time being, Eddie, how's your vocal cord, sir?
Absolutely wonderful.
And how is your guitar? Is that tuned?
Yeah, it's fully tuned.
And well oiled?
Even the fishes as well.
Well, in that case, then I think it's time for a song, sir.
Okay.
Live entertainment on the Grim Reaper radio show, starring Eddie Gagnon.
Where it began, I can't begin to know. But then I knew it's going strong. Was in the spring, and spring became the summer. I believed you'd come along. Oh, hand, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Oh, sweet Caroline, good time never seemed so good. I'd be inclined to believe they never would. Now I look at the night, and it don't seem so compelling. Fade up with only two. And when I hear hurting runs off my shoulder, how can I hurt when holding you? Oh, searching one, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Oh, sweet Caroline, your time never seemed so good. I'd be inclined to believe they never would. Oh, no. Oh, sweet Caroline, your time never seemed so good. Oh, sweet Caroline, I believe they never could. Oh, sweet Caroline, your time never seemed so good.
Sometimes I never know when you finish. A few comments in the chat regarding your choice of songs, sir. Can I honestly say that one of the good things I do like is I'll never ever get a copyright strike when Eddie sings because he puts his own twist on things and sings it totally different. And in a lot of cases, like that one, I think it would have sounded better if that was released. But that's just me personally, you know. For those guys who have just sort of catching up, yes, I did have a wonderful, lovely present last week in the form of a £6 4 ounce grandchild, and since then I've been called Grimdad. Thank you, Tony. It's sticking. And no, she's not my first, but she's probably the only one I'm going to see grow up. So yeah, life's wonderful. So,
Congratulations, by the way.
well, I thought you were here last time when I even put a picture up.
I never said that the last time,
Oh,
but I never got the chance.
yeah, I must admit, last week when I sort of announced it, I was a little bit inebriated, more than normal. I was certainly wetting the baby's head, as they say. But yeah, she's a lovely bonny girl. I saw her last Sunday, and I'm going over to see her tomorrow as well. So all things being equal, I'll be back Friday with another show. But next week, I'll be easing off because I've got to get ready to go away for Halloween. And I'm just waiting for someone to turn around and say, "But why are you going away for Halloween?" Well, I'll tell you. Instead of keeping you in suspenders, I got married on Halloween, and it's my 8th year wedding anniversary. And I can never forget the date because it's my favourite day of the year, which is All Hallows Eve. And I also like Cabbage Day. Now, how many people remember Mischief Night or Troublesome Night or whatever it was called in your local area? And it was actually an Irish thing as well. True story. I checked the facts myself. Have you any idea what I'm talking about, Eddie?
No.
Are you there, Eddie?
I'm here. Can you
All
hear me?
right. Yeah. Sorry, I've got a delay because if there's no sound coming through my hearing aids, they tend to switch off. So when there's only two of us, it's a bit difficult, especially when I'm chattering so much. So have you heard of Cabbage Night?
Nope.
Okay. So the Americans use pumpkins and they carve pumpkins up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In Ireland, they used to carve up turnips. But when there was an influx of Irish people over to America, they found that turnips didn't grow so well and they weren't as readily available, which is one of the reasons why they turned to pumpkins and started cutting them up. And that's where it came from. And the cabbage night or mischief night is the night before where the kids, if they liked you, would leave a nice cabbage on your doorstep.
Or a Brussels
But if they
sprout.
didn't like you, it was a smelly, rotten one. But it was also the night when there was pranksters around as well. So this is where there's a mixture of trick or treat where it came from, because the tricks were always done the night before, and you've got the treats on All Hallows Eve, and that's in a way how it all came about. But I love Halloween because of the so-called horror point of it, I suppose. I think it's from my perspective, it's just the darker side of life. When the witches come out or the women go out without foundation. Oops,
Or the
sorry.
Sanders sisters are about.
My apologies for any witches I've just insulted. But you've also
Holy shit,
got.
Miller's in the house. Hey, you bet.
And they say you haven't got a sense of humour. That's a load of bollocks. Rollick, sorry. Tony, you were born on Easter Monday. Which one? Because Easter moves, it never stays in the same bloody day, which really annoys me, or same weekend, because it follows a very old calendar that we don't use anymore, which is a
I,
bit
I,
strange because.
I was born a week before Halloween, so.
Yeah, well, I'm around next week. Well, up until around the 26th, so won't be doing anything after the 26th. I go away on the Friday, so there's not an else chance, and I could do with a bit of time off from the internet. I don't know what I'm going to do. Any suggestions, please put them in the chat. 1970, you old git, says the oldest guy here. Granddad's not here. I've got no one to call old. So that was just me messing around. Humpty Dumpty was born at Easter. Humpty Dumpty was reinvented by Cadbury's cream eggs.
He died at Easter, didn't he? He got cracked.
What's this? It's almost Sir Eddie's Garneth's birthday then.
Yeah. Sunday.
So you're coming up for your birthday or by away? Or are you going to be out painting the town red?
I'll possibly paint the town red.
Well, do us a favour, don't fall into any fights.
Never
think
do.
about what I said. Just think about what I said.
I normally do the Irish thing, have a few drinks and
Funny, actually, I was.
go to a movie and then have a meal. So that's
That's all right.
my day.
Yeah. So long as you enjoy it.
Absolutely.
That's the
And
important thing. Yeah. As I say, I'm doing absolutely nothing over next weekend. I don't actually come back till I think it's the 4th of November. So I'm after whatever show I finish off doing next week. That'll be it. I might do one on the 5th of November, folks. Bonfire night. In celebration.
Remember the 4th of November, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, I'm planning so far ahead these days. It's unbelievable. What other streams I'll be on, I don't know. But while I'm away, I might jump onto someone's stream, or I might just do a live from where I am and just stick it up on YouTube without StreamYards. Just go on the channel. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. Realistically speaking, I'm due back in work. I think on the 5th as well. So I might do a show on the 5th. I think it'd be a good one. That way, I can celebrate the only political person, stroke MP, to ever attempt to get into the House of Parliament being totally open and honest about their views. Guy Fawkes. Turnips instead of pumpkins. I tell you what, I've never thought of using a turnip. I don't even think I've got a sharp enough knife, to be honest. I might get the missus to use her tongue because that's sharp. These are the old jokes, folks. So, Eddie, so you like this time of year yourself?
Yep.
For obvious reasons. What do you think of Christmas? Oh, it's enough said about that one. Sorry, I am.
Well,
I
the reason why, I mean, not because of the day that's in it, but it's because my father passed away then.
personal reasons. Oh dear. Well, I've never liked Christmas. I think it's a load of hype about nothing. And with
It's
regards to
actually
people,
a forgotten day because it's of the birth of Jesus Christ.
no, I understand that, and I don't have an issue with that. That's not what my concern is, right? I am referring to all the fairy lights and
Yeah,
everything
no,
that people puts into it, the commercialization of it. I'm not talking about the reason behind it, although I could question that. I won't, but I could
yeah.
question it.
It's not about Santa Claus anyway, that's for sure.
To me,
Sorry
that's why I
about
say it's for one day. It used to be 2 days in the UK because we'd have no shops open on Boxing Day.
yeah, that's true.
But the law changed. And I reckon, without looking too hard, on Christmas Day, although all shops are supposed to be shut because the only thing you're allowed to sell is the Bible, technically, I reckon I could find a shop that's open. Without looking too hard. Not that I would. You know. Krusty, I never said that Santa wasn't real in your mind.
He was real in the 1700s.
Not in my time.
Definitely not in your time, no.
I told my children when they were old enough to understand, in turn, because they were born at different times, right, that Santa Claus was an figment of their imagination. And if they want to believe in it, then that is fine. However, all I will say is that I know for a fact Santa won't be coming to you this year because last year I found him breaking into the house and I shot him.
Good man.
So he won't be coming back here. So, and I hate it when he puts the sleigh on the roof.
Here's a question for you. How does he get into the apartments?
Oh well, allegedly, He has the power of the fairies. So he's able
Fairy
to
does or
just.
not. I mean, how the fuck do you get into the apartments if they're locked up?
Hey, don't even start with fairies. No, I'm talking to myself, not you. um, yeah, apparently he can just click his fingers and he has fairy dust, which allows him to do that, etc. In other words, it's true magic. Now, true magic is
Well, I
always going
tell
to
you how
be in
he
the
gets in
mind.
because he has to be buzzed in. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, but hang on a second. How do you know it's the real Santa Claus when his
That's
sack is empty when he comes into the building? But when he leaves, it's full. Let me think. What's this? Fairies. It's not the politically correct thing to say. You're
right.
right.
You
Uh,
got in some cases you got kinky as well.
yeah. And please don't bash the fairies. They are real. They get mad when they're disrespected. And then Dennis has come back. I think they prefer to be called gay or homosexual now. I
Load 'em
am
up.
not talking about their sexual preferences. I've never met a fairy, so I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I'm always politically correct. You know that, guys. 9 times out of 10. And there I go, referring to, how can I put it? Referring to you all as guys, and there's probably some lasses in the chat as well. So do not take offence. But if you do, I
You
truly
have to pay
understand
for it.
it's about feelings, and I don't enforce feelings. Never have done. Izzy, how are you? And who are you? Just out of curiosity. Just put your resume in the chat. We'll find out who you are later. Eddie, it's getting to that time, mate.
Yep,
If you've got a tune up your sleeve,
of course I do.
and this time I'll try and count you in a little bit better than last time. So it's over to you, Eddie, the star of the show. I'm not the star. This is becoming the Eddie Gannon show every time he turns up.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now, you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do. How about you now? Backbeat, the word is on the street, and the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you've never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do. How about you now? because maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. Today is gonna be the day, but they'll never throw you back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads that lead you there are winding, and all the lights that light the way are blinding. There are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saved me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. You're gonna be the one that saves me. You're gonna be the one that saves me.
Apparently, some people forget that I have the lowest form of wit. So when I put sounds better than U2's version, I've never heard U2's version, so I've got to say that was better. However, yes, you are right, Spooky, it was Oasis. And the brothers fell out not long afterwards. That was brilliant, that, Eddie,
Thank you.
as always. Now, I've got a message for What's Truth. And for those of you who have been looking or seeing some of the shorts I've been putting up, I do allow clowns to come in, don't I, Krusty? You're not the clown that I'm referring to, though. This clown is a horrible, horrible, sad person. Enough said. You know, shouldn't really have a go at me. I've not done anything. I've not upset anybody. I never do. Do I really care? And thirdly, I'll go into whatever stream I want to go in. And if I enjoy going into the shit show and having a laugh and a joke with people, so be it. You know? No, Krusty, I was never having a go at you. You're a nice Krusty the Clown. And yes, you are a clown. I could rename you It, as it's that time of year when people start thinking of spooky things, etc. That was a brilliant clown.
Clown.
Oh, it's you that's on that thing. You're the clown. Sounds just like him, you know. What's truth? If you want to come up, or anybody else wants to come up, please note that all restrictions near enough are being lifted on this channel, because I'm now putting the link into on at the top of the chat and pinning it there. So please, as long as you pass the security via the dungeon, you can go up anytime. Anyway, moving on to a totally different subject, something which I thought was funny today, because I've got a warped sense of humour. What's the best way to deal with a copper at a traffic stop? Any ideas? I'll open that up to the chat as well as to you, Eddie, as well.
Give my
So
bribe.
you're driving along and you get pulled over by a copper. Doesn't matter where you are, by the way, it's the same principle, right? The only thing that you have to do at a traffic stop is to, oh God, it's the one and only. Hello, Dennison.
Oi, oi.
Dennis and X. How the devil are you, sir?
Well, hello there.
Dennison?
Don't you hear me?
You do realise, of course, that the one thing which I will always do if I think that there's an issue. How you doing, mate?
Do we have tissues?
No, I'm still breathing.
You sure?
Hold on, let me check. Yep.
Never ask Dennison whether he's still breathing or not. You will get a straightforward answer. Yeah.
In and out.
In and out. What, you breathing?
Yep.
Oh, that's all right. Anyway, here's a question, right? When a copper pulls you over for whatever reason, right, and you're driving, how do you deal with that copper? What's the best way?
Me personally?
Anybody, whatever you think. It's open channel.
If I'm driving,
Yep.
so I put all the windows down. I turn the interior light on. I turn the car off. I take my seatbelt off. I put the keys next to me in the chair. I get my license and my registration and my insurance ready before he gets to the car. And then I put my hands on 10 and 2.
Okay. So that's what you would do.
Yep.
Anybody in the chat, please, whatever you feel like say within reason, please. I saw something earlier. This is the reason why I'm asking this question. Eddie, how would you deal with them? I don't know whether you drive, by the way, but
I don't drive, but well, what I would do is I would tell him I was just coming back from a wedding and I had to bring the wife back.
right.
That's the
Tony
joke,
Lee.
but I don't know.
Tony Lee would identify himself by putting undies on his head at the time. Underwear. As long as it's not the ones you're wearing, you'll be fine. What's true is, yes, I do use Midjourney, or I did before I ran out of freebies. I wouldn't say anything. Literally, I saw something earlier I never ever thought I would see on YouTube. The guy filmed himself and he literally didn't say anything, and he kept asking the copper for a pen, and he wrote down everything he needed to say, which I thought was funny, to be honest, because I thought to myself that the best way of dealing with it was the way he did it. I mean, talk about taking the mickey, and even though he was told all he would get was a warning, and that's all he got was a warning, he just refused to speak. He showed him what he was required to do. But other than that, didn't do it. Didn't say a word. Wrote things down to ask the police. Krusty, I've never been stopped on my tricycle. You will be. But yeah, I mean, how do you think? Does that work, Dennison?
Does what work? Not talking?
Yeah,
It depends on the
writing,
cop.
writing things down and showing them. Just, I mean, let's face it. You
Great
could have
way.
somebody who drives you but can't speak.
It's a great way. Well, I mean, if you genuinely can't speak, that's one thing. But it's a great way to take a cop who's on an authority trip and piss him off.
Yeah, yeah. Now I then saw another video. These are old ones, by the way, where there's a guy who was in a parking lot eating his Taco Bell, whatever it is that they serve, right, in a car park after it closed, and he was accosted by these police asking him what he's doing, why he was parked in a car park with no other vehicles
Oh,
around places that were closed.
see, that's a different story altogether. If my key is not in the ignition, then the cop can go fuck himself.
Right, yeah, okay.
See,
This
here
is
in the
basic.
United States, it's unconstitutional, but it's the law anyway. If you're in operation of a motor vehicle, when you get your driver's license, you sign agreeing to give up certain rights for the privilege of driving. And a cop can stop you anywhere at any time and demand your operator's license, your driver's license.
Yep. Same here. Probably the same over in Southern Ireland,
Right,
or
but if
Era, as I
if
would
you're
call it.
sitting in a car though, and you're not operating the vehicle, then he's not entitled to shit. Uh, and I've had cops roll up 6, 8 deep when I told their friend, the first cop to show up, to go fuck himself when he asked me for my ID, that it was none of his business. They don't like that, but they can't arrest you. So
Yeah. Well, this guy, he did engage with the police at the time, the coppers. Yes, I agree. Rest in peace, Jay's Surreal Cinema. I saw that today as well on Jose's
wait a minute,
commu- community page.
is Jay not okay?
Jay Surreal's Cinema. There was a post on Transparency, Jose's Transparency channel, not on the channel, sorry, on community page about him no longer being with us. I don't know the history.
Oh my
So
god.
other than that, I can't. I would only advise that you go and check out the page. If I could find it, I would put the link up. If anybody can find it on a community page, it is there. Depends on who you subscribe to, whether you'll see it or not. If you could put it in the chat so that Dennison can check it out, if he's not already doing it. Yeah. This guy's eating his food, and he refused to identify. He knew his rights. He wasn't doing anything illegal. So what happened then was that they called various support units, and he was arrested for failure to identify himself when asked, and also sitting in a car park eating his taco.
Yeah, that should be
Wi-
overturned. There's no law in the United
I
States.
don't know. I don't know what happened afterwards. It's an older video. It was one that was shared. I think it was on Blacklusters, and I saw it today. I hadn't seen it before. It is about 8 months old or something like that. But I did click on it. At the time when it was covered, he had 67 subscribers, and now he has over 5,000. well over 5,000. Now, it could be because of that one video, or it could be a number of videos, but that is released. But yeah, I was gobsmacked is a good way of putting it at the time, because when I watched it earlier on, I thought, how, why? But yeah, I've not found out what the score is since. But let's put it this way: you should never have been arrested, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a lawsuit in the making. But again, the problem I've got with with people who sue the police, although I agree that they should, it doesn't come out of the copper's pocket, so they don't learn anything. If it came out of their pockets and they had to pay for it, then maybe they will actually learn.
Yeah, it's us that pays for it.
You know, it's insurance companies that pay out, which is another reason why we pay so much in insurance. You know, what's this? You put crusty. There's always a lighter side to life. My mate said eating his tackle. I had to correct him. There's always one in every pack, and tonight we've got crusty. Oh, actually, Tony, are you still here? Because you've got competition, mate. Yeah, I mean, with regards to, as I said, I think you missed the beginning, Denison. I was talking about how the justice system, in my opinion, is far too lenient. We heard a story from somebody, which is harrowing. In fact, two stories. And I'm of the opinion that we should have proper deterrence. Certainly here in the UK, you may agree with me for the United States. But for instance, where somebody is found guilty at the moment of committing an assault or any low crime, then they should be sent out to a farmer's field and told to turn it over with a spade and a fork. Or, if necessary, a pickaxe, rather than it being done mechanically. And they have to do that for 100 hours out of a 5-month period. I think if you are sentenced in the middle of winter, that might be a bit difficult. But hey, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Because the sentencing over here is a bit of a joke. We heard from somebody who confirmed this from first-hand experience from the States, and I was horrified, to say the least. But there is no deterrent. This is why you get petty assaults, etc., petty crimes. Full stop. If you had a strong enough deterrent, you wouldn't have that. But I'm also of the firm belief that it is down to you as the accused to prove yourself innocent rather than being presumed guilty. Presumed innocent until proven guilty. That's what I was about to say. So, yeah, I'm a little bit hard-lined on things like that, to say the least. And some people would say I'm ultra-right, and no doubt Will here, Fake Mike Real News. Thanks for wanting to come up and speak to us again after the last time.
You said guilty until proven innocent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck that.
No, I firmly believe that it should be the accused who should prove themselves innocent. And people will disagree with me, and I don't have an issue with that at all.
I think history itself disagrees with you in that case.
It's just a point of view. That's all. The reason is, one of the reasons behind that, I suppose, is that the police seem to think that you're guilty, and you have to prove yourself innocent. But I'm just thinking from a point of view of how far forensic science has come over the years. Where I think we're now at a situation where we can prove things beyond a shadow of a doubt. So let's turn the tables.
There's
Basically, I think it would stop a
countries.
lot of garbage, a lot of crime instantly. That's just my own belief. It's never going to happen. Sorry, Eddie, what were you saying?
There's a lot of countries that
My
think that way, but like in like, but I mean, like the majority of the world like thinks innocent till proven guilty. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Mike, real Mike. Sorry, I'll get this wrong. Sorry, I've had a few. Fake Mike, real news. Will, what are you saying?
That's right. I'm the literal fakest Mike that ever existed, but the realest L. Ron Hubbard. It's kind of weird how that works. So I've been listening on our chat there, and our little chat that we got. Us and the crew. We've been watching your video. I did have to step away to go to the store, so I got most of it. But I'm not sure if you got to this, so apologies if you did. But I think one of the factors to look at is what are we trying to do here? Because are we trying to rehabilitate? Are we trying to deter? Are we
Nope.
trying to do both? But my
Deter.
question here, deter. So everyone's got a different opinion. My thing is, let's start from why are people committing crime? And if you look at statistics, one of the things famously that right-wing Americans, racist and unracist too, alike, they love to point out that blacks only make up, so-called blacks, only make up 13% of the population, but they account for a higher percentage, I forget what the figure is, of the crime. But they don't take into account many other reasons. First of all, the CIA, COINTELPRO, MK Ultra, Tuskegee, slavery, Jim Crow, and on and on and on and on and on. But the other thing that those racist right-wing people, and I'm not a fan of left-wing people either, don't take into account is that statistically, you see crime at the lower socioeconomic rate. And unfortunately, because of the history of so-called black Americans, they are on the lower rung, generally speaking, on the socioeconomic ladder. Of course, there's always exceptions to this. However, if you go to the poorest parts of China, the poorest parts of the Middle East, Africa, Eastern, Western Europe, Australia, so on and so forth, you're going to find that the places that commit the most crime are the people that are the lowest on the socioeconomic rung, regardless of nationality, religion, identity, and so forth. So in my opinion, to sum all this down here, is one of the main reasons that we have crime is because people don't have enough. And there's various reasons why people don't have enough. I mean, that's a whole show you could talk about that for. But if people had enough, I think that would be the best option. Instead of rehabilitating or deterring, how do we get these folks to have enough so that they don't need to do this? They don't need to commit crime, or they don't feel, and then there's other factors too, but it just happens to be the lowest of the socioeconomic. Now, would that alleviate all crime? What if we found a way to get them, a little more stable and well off? No, because there's always and I'm no type of utopian, there always is going to be a segment of the population with no empathy, that are narcissists, that are sociopaths, and so forth. So you're never going to get rid of it. But my solution would be figure out how to raise everybody up out of these poverty levels. So, I think if we did that, that would drastically reduce crime.
I agree. Petty crime. I'm just saying that from the fact that the justice system is broken, right? If for argument's sake, everything was reversed, and let's face it, the police believe that you're guilty automatically, regardless, because they're always right, and we know that, obviously not. And as Mr. Blues put it, isn't it human nature to assume that an individual is automatically guilty? I think that's the way it's put across in the general press, and depending on what the alleged crime is. My concern is the amount of crime and the theory. It's only a theory, so don't shut me down straight away, folks. If everyone is assumed to be guilty and they have to prove their innocence, I also think that the lawyers, the solicitors, the barristers would have their work cut out if they're representing the defendant, and it would also stop all the plea deals that go on. That's one of the things which I think would be one way around the problem. And if somebody wants to go before a jury for their alleged crime, but in this alternative reality, for argument's sake, they were guilty, then let's assume that it's going to cause further delays in people getting through to court because of the trial period. Well, one of the things you can do is you can cut down the amount of jurors from 12 to 5 or even to 9 or something like that. That way you'd never get a hung jury. And as we have this belief that first past the poll wins, those with the most votes wins, or until recently anyway, when it's questioned with an American presidential election. I just believe that it would make things a little bit smoother, and if you set the punishment far greater than what the actual crime is, it would deter people from doing the crime. It's just my idea of how I think that it should be. Now we've got Bear up there, Britain Audits. How you doing?
Good evening. How are we? All right.
Hey, Bear. Well,
I'm doing all right. We've got
Greg,
Denison. Yep.
let me say this as a counter. Not that I necessarily agree with or disagree with you, but there's a lot of countries like Indonesia where, and there's other countries too, where you get the death penalty for drug trafficking. Well, that doesn't eliminate people from drug trafficking. Unfortunately, what happens is these cartels or these groups that wouldn't be in the position they are if the government hadn't outlawed drugs and the failed war on drugs. These people, instead of taking the risk themselves, they put ordinary people up to take the risk of death, life imprisonment, chop off your arm, do this, do that to you for drugs. And some of these people either feel like they have to do this as an opportunity to feed their family because they can't do it in other ways, or are really coerced by violence to traffic the drugs. And then ordinary people who are, just being coerced violently to do this. Hey, how many times have you seen the Mexican drug cartels working with the U.S. CIA? And what the cartels will do is say, hey, if you don't go run this shit over the border, if you don't go stuff this in your pants, we're going to fucking murder your sister. And so that's one of the unintended consequences of policies like that.
I agree from that point of view. I'm talking more of the petty stuff and reducing that. I'm also thinking along the lines of if someone got into a vehicle and they had been drinking, although they didn't cause damage, they could have caused damage to somebody else, they could have caused harm. And I think that the way that we have it over here and the way that it's treated, there's only so many times that you can ban someone, and then when you send them to jail, they do like 6 months and they're out in 3, that sort of thing.
I have the unpopular.
Should you even be prosecuted? Really, like until you actually cause harm to somebody? Yes, unless you actually until you cause harm. You're saying you should be prosecuted for potentially causing harm. Should you not only be prosecuted if you cause harm?
Well, if you drink drive and your insurance is invalid, so technically you're driving without insurance. I have a zero tolerance to any.
What I'm saying to you is they enforce a law yeah, where no one's been hurt. There's no victim.
Well,
There's no victim.
potentially there could have been.
Yeah,
It's just by sheer
potentially,
luck.
but potentially.
Well,
It's
yeah,
gone.
I'm bear left for a sec, but yeah, I was actually going to say too. I thought it'd be an unpopular opinion, but the problem with drunk driving is, as Bear says, it's a victimless crime. Now, once you do hit somebody, once you do cause damage, whether you have insurance or not, it is your duty, once you've been found guilty in a court of law, to suffer the consequences, pay for the damage, and or both, by a jury of your peers. But the thing is, in certain places, like I smoke weed all the time, right? And now they're trying to say, oh, you're too high. You can get arrested for being too high because they finally legalized weed in some areas. Same thing with drunk driving. Now, it's a 0.8. Now, everybody's biochemistry is
Yeah,
different.
that's me. Keep the other one green. Sorry, Will.
No. I'll just finish up this point real quick. But everyone's biochemistry is different. There are people that are more functioning as alcoholics than regular people that are driving. Anytime you go out on the road, it could be a text, right? Texting and driving is also very dangerous. Driving on highways is one of the most dangerous things in this world. It's one of the top 5-10 leading causes of death on this planet. But I don't think anybody should be persecuted for pre-crime, especially when the police can't even solve the crimes in front of them, at least here in the United States. As I always say, according to a 50-year study of over police's own data over 50 years, it showed that police only solve 2% of major crimes. So they can't do that. So instead, they're doing, here in the United States, illegal Fourth Amendment checkpoints where they stop you without even a suspicion of a crime, people that are drunk, people that are not drunk, force something in your fucking mouth on these illegal red coat checkpoints. Meanwhile, we have murderers loose, we have wizards loose. Those crimes happen.
I want to address what you're saying. I just want to say thank you to Eddie. I don't know whether you're still around, mate, but I do apologise if you dropped down as a result of us talking a little bit more hardcore. And we have gone through it earlier. So my apologies, my friend. You're welcome up anytime.
Sorry,
you know
should
that.
I not swear? I'm going to swear again. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just talking about the conversation in general terms. I said earlier that some people will see me as being ultra right wing from the point of view that I have no tolerance for anybody who drinks or even smokes weed. If it's legal, it's legal, right? I've no issues with that. Do whatever you like when it's legal. It's legal to take.
If tomorrow it become legal to smoke cannabis behind the wheel, yeah, you're saying you'd all of a sudden have tomorrow you'd feel differently to what you do today, just because it's legal. Because you're told it's legal.
If there was a advance notice that they were going to do something like that, then I would have to accept it at the end of the day. Right? I've got no choice. Right? What I'm trying to say is that from my perspective, right, for a lot of stuff, I have zero tolerance, and part of the reason is that people have been getting away with things for too many years. Now, I understand what Will's saying about people who can function better under certain circumstances, right? I have no issues with that, but they are a danger when they get in the vehicle. If they are taking drugs which is going to impair their reactions, drinking alcohol which will always impair your reactions, I don't think you should have a limit. I think it should be zero. If you drink, you don't drive. End of. This is the way that I see it. But
I'm kind of playing devil's advocate with you because I kind of agree with you.
I know you are.
I do agree with you. No, I do kind of agree with you. But the problem I have is, or the problem that I foresee in here and probably in the States as well, yeah, too many people are incarcerated, mate, for victimless crimes. There's other ways of dealing with people, yeah, it doesn't have to involve incarcerating somebody.
I totally agree with you, which is the reason why I suggested that there should be standard outcomes, right? So if you're guilty, you're guilty. Therefore, you go and dig ditches. You don't do
So, Grim,
community service. You
I don't
have
want
to
to go.
learn from the mistakes.
so
You
let me ask you a
cannot
question, Grim.
learn through rehabilitation. It
Do
doesn't
you not believe in
work.
common law? Do you not believe in common law at all, Grim? And I don't want to go
I
into a big thing about common law, but is there any part of that you agree with and think that like we should still
the
live under?
okay, the principle of common law I agree with, right? The
Well,
principle.
under
I
under the
I
principle,
can.
then
The principle is
you
that
can
you
drink
would
and
not.
drive
No,
as long as you
no,
don't
no,
hurt
no.
somebody.
That is not what it says. What it says is if you do not cause harm,
Yeah, so
right,
as
to
long as you don't
somebody
cause
else.
harm, you can't be convicted, right?
Well, what about the mental harm of somebody who witnesses something? The damage
But
that
again, until it
causes.
happens, it's only speculate. Until it happens, it's just all speculation on how someone
Well,
Well,
might
quite.
feel or be affected.
let me ask you another question, Grim, that kind of gets to another angle of this, right? So I actually, obviously, I'm against anybody that's drunk driving and harms anybody. I definitely don't endorse drunk driving either. I'm not saying people
Yeah,
should do that.
yeah.
That's not my angle here at all. But the problem then becomes, how do you enforce this? Because there are places here in the United States where if somebody's already got a couple drinking and drivings, that they literally have some shit that they have to blow into on their car before they can turn the car on. Do we give the government that access to do that, or do we have it where it's police set up random checkpoints and they can pull you over even if you haven't committed a crime? Like, how do you practically enforce that, especially when it comes to these other crimes, they can't get a conviction? So why would we let them? Why
Well,
would we give
this
them
is
more?
this is
How
the reason
how do we
why.
stop the
Yeah,
junkies?
yeah. This is the reason why I actually started off, and I've said it a few times. I believe that if you turned it over the law as it stands at the moment on its head, and you have to prove yourself innocent, right? It's harder. And it would also mean that everything would get before a
So
court.
let me just
So
interrupt one more
it
time here.
couldn't be. Hang on. Let me finish.
Sorry.
Things like Jimmy Savile that was brushed under the carpet for years, right? And one particular person who's in charge of the prosecution service at the time refused because it wasn't in the public interest,
Yeah, I know.
right? Now, to me, if that had been followed through properly, it would have gone to court years before it came out, right? However, it didn't, right? So, surely, if you take the burden of proof away from the prosecution and they're presumed guilty, and you put it on the other side, it makes it fairer. It
Nope.
means, from a point,
Stop calling.
it
Stop calling
means
me
that
criminal.
more prosecutions go ahead.
I know, but that's the reason I wanted to interrupt you is because that's actually I wanted to make sure you got my question, and I'm not saying actually the first time I've ever heard that. I know it does happen somewhere, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is, and I'm entertaining that thought for sure. I entertain every thought, whether I believe it or not. If I can't prove it one way or another, I keep it in the back of the noggin for research. My question is, how do you? Okay, so you have zero tolerance for drunk driving. Fair. That's okay. That's a respectable thing. I have people in my family who have been severely damaged in comas, had their best friends die. I've trust me, there's been some real things. So this is something that touches very close to home with me and some of my best friends on this planet. So I definitely understand that opinion. My question to you isn't, okay, so I agree with you now. Let's hypothetically say I agree with you. How do we stop these drunk drivers? Do we do it?
Like
There's
you
three.
suggested.
Well, as I suggested, do you think it should just be as it is now, where if someone's swerving, driving out of control, then hey, you're endangering people. I'm going to pull you over and see what's going on, and if you fail a field sobriety test, then yes, I will detain you and prosecute you for that. However, there's also things that are currently on now, like here in the United States, these illegal Fourth Amendment checkpoints that cops will just set up and randomly stop people who aren't drunk. There should be a freaking random checkpoint. And then there's other things that I'm talking about, like where you have to blow into a steering wheel. So what do you think would be the most effective way to catch these people? That's the question I'm asking. That's what I'm getting.
Well, what you were saying regarding, I personally think that every single vehicle, and it wouldn't take long to do, because you can do it from new vehicles onwards, right? So over a period of time, it would become the norm. You can put those devices in every single car, which means that only the driver that is showing us either zero or whatever the limit is in the country, if they so wish to put limits in, right? Um, if they're under that or they've got zero alcohol, the car starts.
Well, I would just say too that what would happen next would be people's friends would blow in it, people would blow in it, then go take a whole bunch of drinks, you know what I'm saying? Or park somewhere, leave their car idling. There's many ways just off the top of my head that I think you could get around that.
Well, what's the laws? What's the laws? Because obviously there's states in America, right, where it's legal to smoke weed. Yeah. In any of those states, are you allowed to drive under the influence of smoking weed?
Every state is different. I know I'm here in Providence, Rhode Island, and I do know people that have been pulled over because there was weed in the car, and they said they gave him a sobriety test to see if he was thing. So yes, here in the state of Rhode Island, I cannot speak for other states, but definitely here in the state of Rhode Island, I'm assuming others. But yes, that is something that can happen. And let me tell you, when I'll be real frank and shut up here because I have been talking a lot, but I do want to, because I like this conversation. And really quickly, thank you very much to Grim for having these conversations. These are important questions because typically the people that are having these conversations are men in dark suits who hate all of us. So it's good that we, the people, are having a conversation, an open-minded conversation about all of this. But where was I going with this? Yeah. So the problem here is, when I first started smoking weed, I was like, damn, I can't drive, and I didn't drive. I took it upon myself. I was like, yo, I can't drive. This was years ago. Now, I smoke weed every day.
Tolerance. Yeah.
And I have it does not affect my ability to drive. As a matter of fact,
Yes,
cannabis actually enhances, and everyone's biochemistry is different, enhances your focus on certain things. So you can potentially be a better driver. And yes, there are different substances. All chemicals affect what you do. There's texting and driving. There's listening to music. There's taking selfies. So there are all these different things that can have a negative effect. One of the things to look for, too, which may make this conversation even antiquated, is the rise of self-driving cars. And that has been something. And also, I would say something on a positive note, for all that can be said negative about Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft have dramatically reduced the number of drunk driving deaths in their cities. Well, maybe not correlation, causation is not correlation, but that is something to be positive about, in my opinion.
Okay, we've had roadblocks set up for random searches, random pulling over of vehicles. It's usually around December as a general rule when there's a big thing about drunk driving. My argument is it's all year round. It's just I'm very, as you can probably tell, very passionate around people who drink and drive. I don't think they should be allowed to. And the problem is they go to court, they get a fine, they get banned from driving, but there's nothing to stop them from getting in a vehicle and driving 10 minutes after walking out of court. And it's been done, it's been seen happen many a time. And so where's the deterrent? And that's what I'm getting at, really, suppose. I think that we are, as a nation, I think that the deterrent of trying to stop crime is a waste of space. I understand that police don't necessarily solve a lot of crimes, and I'm being very generous by that, by the way. Their inability to solve real crimes, right, is one thing. Their people being pulled over and they've been over in America, it may be against the Constitution of the Fourth Amendment. However, over here, I can only speak for here, it's perfectly legal. There's no issues whatsoever. And the only people who have any problems with it are those who drive when drunk. If I know I'm drinking, I will stop a minimum of 12 hours before I drive a vehicle. even if it's just a couple of cans. You know, at the end of the day, and I won't risk it. And if I prefer to leave it after, certainly after having a decent session on in an evening. I won't drive the following day, so it's just me. It's just the way that I see certain aspects. That's all. And I look at the situation where with AW, where the copper assaulted him. He's been found not guilty. He's been found guilty. His sentencing is next week, and this is where the topic came from. In a way, it's because I know he's going to get a slap on the wrist, and that means there's no deterrent for coppers. They're just going to carry on doing what they're doing because they're not being held accountable. And this is where it stemmed from. And it's developed as we've gone along through the night. But I do actually have very different type of views than some people. There's not many people who will have zero tolerance on drinking and driving. A lot of people think there should be a limit. You know.
Well,
but I plan my drinking around driving.
Yeah, regardless, I think we can all agree that if you or I or any other adult would have assaulted a 16-year-old boy in broad daylight for not breaking the law, for doing absolutely nothing wrong, for actually doing something right, engaging in civic responsibility, we would have went away for a long time. Here in America, the worst that would have happened is probably suspended with pay. Maybe he wouldn't even went to trial. So I mean, I guess the British Isles have this beat in that aspect, but it's just ridiculous that a grown man in a so-called position of authority, supposed to be a moral authority, more important, is abusing a young child on video, and yeah, he's not going to go to jail for that, bro.
Well, I don't think there'll be any jail time. I think worst case scenario for the copper, he'll get a suspended sentence. I know what my outcome would be, but that's just my outcome. Dennison, are you still awake, or we bored you?
I'm awake.
Just wondered. You've not said anything, but there again, with Will, you don't normally get chance anyway. I'm only joking, Will.
I did try to get a word in edgewise a few times.
Did you? You should have shouted.
I tried that a couple times.
Well, my apologies that you didn't get in. I didn't notice myself. I was looking at the chat and didn't say anything in the private chat. Otherwise, I'd have muted Will with that one. So what is your opinion?
My apologies to everyone, guys. I'm going to shut the hell up until someone asks me a question or asks for my opinion.
I know. It's all right, Will. I know. Don't take it the wrong way, man.
Not at all. I can be quite remote.
I'm in the usual and fortunate position of disagreeing with every single one of you.
Okay.
What are we missing here, Danny?
So, guilty until proven innocent. Essentially, it's in the state's best interest to prosecute crimes, whether or not they happened. So you're asking for it. If you're looking to make people guilty until they're proven innocent, first of all, you can't prove a negative. So it's logically unsound. It's a recipe for malicious prosecution. And you're looking at increasing the number of malicious and political prosecutions. And in my country, I don't know about your country, but our courts are run politically already. So if people were presumed guilty, we'd be in an even worse horror show than we already are, where they try to put people in prison for defending themselves and convict people of crimes because of the politics that they have. And as far as driving while intoxicated, intoxication absolutely impairs your driving. I think most of the time people are pulled over because of their driving or because they've been involved in some kind of traffic incident. Those crimes should be prosecuted for what they are. There's no need for an additional crime. If you're driving recklessly, that's driving recklessly. If you get in a car accident, it's your fault. You get in a car accident, it's your fault. If you're drunk and you kill somebody, that's vehicular homicide. My problem is with pulling people out of their cars when they're parked on the side of the road trying to sleep it off. That seems to me to be a victimless crime. And as far as common law goes, I mean, it sounds nice, but it doesn't exist anymore. And I'd love. I'm perfectly open to hearing ways how we can reinstitute common law, but by definition, common law is law that has not yet been legislated by the legislature. And I challenge you to find any area of your life, business, anything that hasn't already been covered by the legislature. They legislate every single thing we do. Common law has been effectively erased. And I, for that reason, I have a problem with people who perpetuate it as though it still exists. Yes, sometimes if you resist the state and you give them a hard time, they'll get fed up with you and let you go because you're one person and they don't care. And just like Walmart expects to lose a certain amount of products that they have on the shelf that people can easily steal, the government expects a couple of people to be able to get away with infractions and minor violations of the law because they just don't want to spend the time and money to deal with your ass. That doesn't mean you should go on YouTube and start telling people how they can beat the court system. I have a problem with that.
I want to just say one more quick thing, just to add into what you said, Denizen. Not only do they bust people's balls for trying to sleep it off, but also, there's places a lot of places you can't even drink on the street or be publicly intoxicated, so you can't walk somewhere. Like, at least I'm fucking walking. I'm not buying a car, you know what I'm saying? Now, I get if you're calling for some, like Denizen said, and I agree with him totally here, you get prosecuted for the crime you commit. Now, if a drunk asshole is just walking down the street, just a drunk asshole. But then if he starts fighting with people and doing crazy, then that's assault. You know, that's battery and so forth. But yeah, it's crazy, man, because they don't let you even fucking walk it off, sleep it off. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, someone shouldn't drink and get behind the wheel. I think that's wrong. But if you get drunk and you drive your car and you drive safely and you obey all the traffic laws and you get from point A to point B without putting anyone else in danger, and then you get in your bed and fall asleep, where's the crime?
Okay. Bear, what do you think? You still there, mate? Or have you dropped out again? I think you dropped out. There isn't a crime, and this is what I was saying earlier, but sooner or later you are going to end up doing something wrong, or someone's going to hit you, in which case you are part and parcel of the situation, because technically if you weren't driving while you were intoxicated, you would have potentially seen the hazard and taken action to make sure it doesn't happen, depending on the speed you were going at, etc. But they will get charged with drunk driving, even if it's not their fault. And the other person could get charged with reckless driving, for instance. What I'm trying to say is that the system's broke and something needs to be done to fix it, because there's no deterrent, and the sentences that are given out by judges is very lenient and unbelievable at times.
Well, I think it's the types of crimes and the types of punishments that are actually bothering you more than more than leniency in general.
Well, I don't agree with leniency.
Okay, so you believe that a 12-year-old boy who's starving and steals a loaf of bread from a Walmart should be punished to the fullest extent of the law?
You would have different scenarios for different things, Dennis, and you can go through whichever particular scenario you want to go through. I'm talking about it being in general. I'm not talking about specific situations. Children are prosecuted differently in
Okay, a
the UK.
19-year-old, same circumstances.
They've got no money. They need to eat, and they go in. They get caught. It's down to the premises whether or not they get charged.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the charges. We're talking about they admitted to it. They pled guilty. They're caught on
Hmm?
tape. They've been convicted, and now the judge is sentencing them.
Well, there's no reason why they couldn't have exactly the same as anybody else for a such a minor crime, which is one of the reasons why I said earlier, you know, you're guilty, go and dig a farmer's field.
That
The
sounds
field's
like
got to be turned
leniency to me,
over.
Graham.
Lenient? No, well, you've only heard part of what I said earlier, Dennis, and that's possibly the reason why you've misunderstood. I actually said you should have certain punishments for certain crimes, and they should not be negotiated away, or a judge be able to take any sort of a so-called mitigating circumstances into account.
Right, so that sounds like no leniency, which is the opposite of what you said 40 seconds ago.
No, I'm talking about what that's in my opinion. There's certain crimes which are committed, right? That where somebody is guilty, they get prosecuted. They then either get a fine they can't afford. So what's the point in them being fined? Or they get something like a suspended sentence, and then they just do it again. Now, what I'm saying is put things like assault, petty theft, everything that you can think of, which is currently illegal, into one category. And, you fit that category, you've done it, therefore the punishment is this. And it would
Right.
reduce the amount of crime, in my
So,
opinion.
well, I mean, your opinion aside, what happens is once people are institutionalized, they tend to become criminals, whether they were or not before. And we put no effort and no resources into rehabilitation. I don't believe in retributive justice. It accomplishes nothing except a revolving door of crime. And you're also saying that if somebody goes out and holds a knife to a lady and steals her purse, he gets the same amount of time in jail in prison as somebody who steals a loaf of bread because they're starving. And that is not justice, in my opinion.
What about, as it's been mentioned, what happens if they go out to steal a load of cigarettes for the family? Now, that's not essential.
Yeah, but I
But
think
then
that should be.
again, the family, if they've coerced the child to do it or taught them to do that, then they should be prosecuted as well. But that's just, as I say, I'm talking from my opinion only. That's all. There's nothing to back it up or anything. It's just an opinion that I've got and something that I think would reverse the number of people that are in prison for no reason, and B, people will think twice about doing the same crime.
I don't think that the consequences of this are abstract. I think we can pull from history and common sense to see exactly what would happen. There's going to be, we already have overcrowded prisons as it is. In my country, it's a police state, and we have more people in prison per capita than any other country on the planet. We started doing that here, it would only get worse. There would only be more people in prison for no reason. Now you've got the guilty until proven innocent. So poor people are fucked. They're all going to go to jail. Not a single poor person is ever going to be found not guilty in my country. Um, So you're basically asking for the state to run amok with no checks and balances and no protections for the citizen.
No, I didn't say that. What I actually said was, if if whatever I'm talking about the UK, not talking about the US, because one of the things which you have is, as I said many a time, is that you have the Constitution. Now, I don't think that any law should overrule the Constitution. And I'm a great supporter of the Constitution, as most people are fully aware. Uh, Here, it is different, and I'm just thinking abstractly of how we could deal with the rising crime, because no one's ever going to put money in, you know. No government's going to put money in to try and raise the standard of living. They never have done, never will do. As I say, it's just an idea, you know. And I said anybody who disagrees is more than welcome to come up and say so. You know, at the end of the day, we're just talking about the theoretical way, because no one's given me a way of actually dealing with it
Oh, I could give you a way of
as
dealing
an
with it.
alternative.
You could actually try helping people instead of punishing them.
Where's the money going to come from?
What are you talking about, Grim?
Where's the money going to come
We
from
spend
to
$5
fund
trillion
it?
blowing up brown people in countries people can't even find on a map. You're gonna ask me where the money comes from? We print it.
Yep, that's an internal situation for the US. We have a similar situation. The government will not put money in to raise the standard of living.
Yeah, but all you're
Correct.
doing is putting your finger on the nose of the problem. You're pointing out that the problem is not people who are stealing loaves of bread to feed themselves. It's the corrupt politicians who steal all our money to make themselves wealthy.
Yes, I agree, but we're not able to do that. So if you're going to
It's not that you're
change,
not able, it's that you don't want to. Nobody wants
no,
it bad enough. Your life is comfortable enough as it is. If you were made to feel uncomfortable, then all of a sudden your motives and your incentives would change. If people were made to feel uncomfortable, they would band together and do something about it. The real truth about it is that we have exactly the government that we deserve. It's just as corrupt as we are, and we put up with it because we can still smoke weed and watch TV and fuck our girlfriends, and that's what it comes down to. And when you have food taken out of your mouth and shelter taken off from over your head, that's when you'll do something about it.
You guys are having sex? What's that like?
It's nice when it occurs.
The only sex I've been getting is boned in the ass by the government. But yeah, the one thing I don't agree with on Dennison, and Dennison's making some great points here, is I think, what is that Mark Twain quote you referenced there? We get the government we deserve.
Drop out and come back in. Sorry, Bear's trying to speak and he can't. I think it's his connection. No, it's his connection. He's going to have to drop out and then come back in.
I'll just say one thing is I don't think it is the government we deserve. I think it's what we got right now, and I don't think we deserve it though. That's the only difference. I don't think we deserve it, but I do think we deserve to work harder to replace this government with a voluntary form of government, which adheres to the non-aggression principle. But other than that, great points by Grim and Dennison. And again, thanks for this good, thoughtful last conversation. We need to be having it.
Unfortunately, your neighbors don't care. Over 50% of the population thinks the government we have is good.
You could say you could say that about our government as well. But this is why I always say, whoever you vote for, the government gets in. So it's not about what you deserve or what you don't deserve. It's fact at the end of the day. Bear, if you want to drop out and then come back in, because I've seen that you've been trying to get in and not had a chance to say to you properly. Because every time you're mute, you're not coming through at all. There's no.
Can you hear me?
Connection.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Couldn't hear you before.
Oh. Denizen, I had to listen to fucking Denizen go on his little rant, didn't I? Putting the world to rights and that. What Denizen? Yeah, what Denizen?
Dennis is never going to change. That's why I like
We're
him.
joking. No, I didn't have anything to say, mate. I was just listening. Just listening in.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. It's
Apart from,
participation time.
I don't really agree totally with Denizen, like, but
I don't think anyone would agree with any of us because we've all got our own thoughts on it. I'm not saying that what I'm suggesting would work in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. But the only solution is to throw money at the situation so that people can have a decent wage. And also, if there is reasons where you've got people who want to go on rehabilitation for whatever drug or whether it's alcohol, whether it's weed or whatever it is, until the government start putting money into that to support them, it's not going to happen.
That's a great point, Grim. And another thing to look at too is, something that you just touched on, something that Denizen and Bear touched on, which is, and I also touched on earlier, which is the people that are the lowest end of the socioeconomic rung. They're the ones committing the most crime. And really, if you stop back and look at it, at least here in the United States, same thing in England with the Central Bank of England, but here with the Federal Reserve, they're illegal, unconstitutional theft of our hard-earned money, and inflation has caused us to be in the position we are. So one of the main progenitors of some of the crime going on is literally the Federal Reserve Bank. So I think that's important to keep in mind for the folks out there.
Yeah, well, we've got the Bank of England, which theoretically sets the strength of the pound with all the investments and whatnot. And then we've got a dopey prime minister who's just there for temporary. It's just a question of how temporary. Turns around and has somebody who puts into motion a load of crap that causes the pound to go down in value, at the end of the day. So I honestly don't know what the answer is with regards to finances because everybody says I haven't got the money.
Evolution.
Yeah, but I don't think some of us are going to survive that long.
No, we'll be long gone. Eventually, human beings will either destroy themselves or they will separate labor from currency.
Or we will merge with artificial intelligence via the Neuralink and microchips to be upgraded.
The machines will take over, won't they, one day?
Yeah. Machines will do away with money, though.
Yeah, machines will do away with us.
Money's already gone.
Don't worry about money, lad.
Central bank digital currencies. The money's already gone, bro. That money's a thing
They
of the
do
past,
away
bro.
with currency. This employment is slavery with extra steps, and this system we live in is just serfdom plus. You're always going to have a criminal element because human beings they come off the assembly line with all sorts of random mutations and problems. Right now, we take the most narcissistic and Machiavellian people in our society and we elevate them to positions of power, and we do it on purpose. Okay? And so as long as we continue to do that, we're going to have a system that leeches off of the rest of us and does so intentionally. And half the people that believe that these people are doing everything in their best interest. So as long as you have that combination of ignorance at the bottom and evil at the top, we're going to have these problems. And I think it's going to take social evolution for that to change. And unfortunately, human beings don't just decide to do better. We find ourselves up against the wall, facing a crisis, an existential crisis, and then we do the minimum necessary to work together in order to overcome that crisis, and then incrementally get better over time.
Something that I wanted to point out, to your point right now, yesterday me and Theo and the crew, we were watching some videos, and Theo, shout out to Theo, put on some videos. And I had already read The Art of War twice and watched the animated series. But, I guess I just glossed over. And you made a really important point, Denizen, right there, which is until people are uncomfortable, things are not going to change. And one of the things that not only business leaders, politicians, warlords, generals, and other successful people have in common is they put themselves in what's called the desperate or the death area. And it's putting yourself purposely with your backs against the wall, knowing this might darn well be death. And that's one of the areas in which his army was the most successful. If Sun Tzu did, hypothetically, if he did exist or whatever, or where he got the studies from, there's debate on that. But I think it's very important. We have to put ourselves in the uncomfortable zone, and we have to do that, starting with us. But then, thanks to conversations from Grimm and Denizen and Bear, and you guys' activism, we are kind of getting people into the uncomfortable zone, and we have to do that. And let me tell you, almost every single person, from my family to ex-girlfriends, has said, there is nobody in the world who has made me feel more uncomfortable than you. So I'm doing my part here with the fake mic.
The problem with change is fascism works. We don't like it, but it works. It's efficient, and there's absolutely no reason for it to suddenly stop.
And although you would probably disagree with me, true communism also works, which is the opposite to fascism. I think I opened a bit of a can of worms tonight.
I'm a horseshoe theory guy. I think fascism and communism are essentially the same thing.
Yeah. That's probably a better defined way of putting it. There's been a lot of wisecracks, jokes in the chat throughout the night. Thank you very much for that. We've had Eddie up, who did a couple of tunes for us, which I thank him for. Even Bear came in. Fake Mike, Denizen, who I've not spoken to Denizen for ages. I've seen him in chats, but I've not had the chance to speak to him directly. It's always a pleasure. Denizen and I are very strong-willed, I think is a good way of putting it, strong-minded in our opinions. And I respect his opinion, but we always agree to disagree, 9 times out of 10. I think the same goes for most people.
Pink Floyd is the greatest band that ever lived.
Sorry?
Pink Floyd is the greatest band that ever lived.
Totally agree with you. For that era.
Find common ground.
Yeah. I did say for that era.
I just like making Will shake his head. It's one of my favorite things to do.
You guys know that the Wu-Tang Clan is the best band that ever lived, but
it ain't nothing to fuck with.
That is absolutely for sure. We can all agree there.
Diversify your bonds.
I actually said that again today on my live stream. It's Fashion Week, guys. It's Fashion Week. We're going to bring you the best stuff.
So I'm going to end it there, folks. Before I do fall asleep, as I say, I keep waking up at 3:00 in the morning. And I did say that when I feel as if I couldn't go on, I would stop the stream. And that's what I'm going to do. I will be back on Friday, all things being equal. We might even have Grandad from out of the dungeon, because he's obviously not felt secure enough to come up. In other words, he's decided to take a night off, which is fine. But hopefully he'll be back Friday. Might do a quiz on Friday night for a bit of lightheartedness around Halloween. Unless something else pops up between now and then. You never know. But either way, guys, thank you very much for coming in. Any last words, gentlemen?
I would just like to say thank you for your work. I would also like to say thank you to Denizen for all that he does, and great points. I'd also lastly like to say thank you guys for having me on, and please do me a favor and subscribe to all of these channels. Please support Grim Reaper. Let's get him over 1,000 subscribers right now. Share his videos. Find his links in the description. Grim Reaper Radio Show. The Grim Reaper Radio Show. Hit the bell. Most of you people watching, some of you people watching still haven't subscribed. Hit the bell. Share this video. Share this video. Grim, share. Danny, always a pleasure. Love you guys.
Peace, man.
Peace.
That's what I'm going to say. Short and sweet. Thanks for having us on. Denizen, nice chatting to you, bro. I don't know where you've been recently, but actually, I think it's probably me that's not been about. But yeah, respect, brother. And yeah,
I need to catch up with you, Bear. Sort out a few things. So
I know, mate. Well, whenever you want this week, we can do it. Any day you want. I've sorted out my crisis.
Now.
I've sorted out my crises. So
yes, I heard. Ring me in Telegram, and that's not a pun. Bear broke his phone, didn't you?
Nah, it's good. I've got it back in my hand now, and it's good. It's better than new.
Well, don't roll over on it again.
No, it was broke before that. Listen, you make go like fucking I rolled over on it.
No. I might have been working, but
tell
I
the full
heard
story, man. Put it into full context. Don't make out like I just lied on my phone and it broke like I'm a fucking 20 stone.
Drama is not without drama.
Get out of it. Right, I'm out of here, man. Peace.
Sit down, mate. Race quit. Denizen.
Hi.
As I say, thanks for coming up. Appreciate it. We'll have to catch up sometime. Maybe in Discord. In the meantime, guys, thanks very much. We're going. Ta-ra now. See you.
Go fuck yourselves.
See you on Friday.